Now, WFG, of course, is a multi-level marketing company, or if people are not familiar, MLM for short, or network marketing. How do you address the people that call these kinds of companies pyramid schemes and that type of thing? How do you address that?
Yeah, well, so before I came here, I looked at other companies in the industry. And when I would sit down with the branch manager or the agency owner, my question always was, hey, how do I become you? And it was always like, well, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this sounds like my Arthur Anderson question.
That's like my job.
How do I become partner, right? And well, right?
Yeah.
12 to 22 years, and it just frustrated me. Like, tell me what I need to do to own my own deal. And so it was always subjective. And so when I came here and I sat down with Eric and he did my follow-up interview, I said, well, how do I become you? And then he pulled out a piece of paper and showed me exactly what I needed to do to become him. And I'm like, hot damn, man. This is it.
And you could even pass them.
Yeah.
If you right.
Absolutely. Objective promotion standards. And then I dove in and I was like, oh my God, man, the whole model, the comp, the bonuses, the trips, all the goodies in our comp model all relate to you actually raising people up. Where I found in the traditional industry, it was all about, okay, if I win, you got to lose. And if I'm going to give you a higher contract, I have to lose. And I call it the dysfunctional marriage. It's just a dysfunctional business model. And it's everywhere. I got a client that he's getting out of the HVAC business. I'm like, why? He's like, because all I've done is hire, train, lose people that became my competition. There was no compensation for developing people. And so when I got it, I was like, this is unbelievable, and it's a win-win. And it's really why, as you know, we're probably the only growth story happening in the industry. And then after that, I just embraced it. So I started reading some of the stuff that Robert Kiyosaki put out on. He calls it the business school for people who like helping people. And he's never made any money in MLM. In fact, he had a bad taste in his mouth, and then he started doing his stuff and meeting these amazing people. And he's like, what are you doing? They had these big organizations. He's like, holy. So that's why he calls it the business school for people who like helping people. So I went from kind of being skeptical of it, right, CPA,
sure, to
looking at it, to now I just embrace it. It's actually my favorite question, and I follow it because I get jacked up about it because it's so powerful. And then the last thing I'll say about it is I was meeting with a guy from the industry, and he's like, it's MLM, and he's poo-pooing on it, and he's made 7 firm changes in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Finally, I just turned a piece of paper over to him. I'm like, okay, you draw it. How would you do it? Right? How would you draw it?
Right.
How would you organize the structure? And after staring at him for 5 minutes, he's like, I do it just like you guys, right? So anyway, I went off on that a little bit. But it's when you really get it, and one of the things I want people to understand is, the model's neutral, right? Just like you teach.
Right.
Money's neutral. People want to make money good or bad. WFG, the model's neutral. People want to make that good or bad. No, it's the good person and what they bring to the money. It's the good person and what they bring to the model. And you get the right person, you get the good person with a good heart that wants to help people, and you bring them in the model, and you've met all of them, right?
Sure.
It's explosive.
Sure.
It's explosive. But you get the bad guy, so to speak, it's destructive.
Well, how about the people that say, with the MLM, they say, well, it's a pyramid, only the top people are making money, and the little guy loses. And how do you address that, the pyramid piece of it? Because people love to call it a pyramid, although it's been overturned in courts. It's not a pyramid and all that many times. I'm not WFG, but MLM in general.
Yeah,
many years.
I think people are watching that. They're considering this. Guess what? I signed the same contract. I didn't sign some special contract, right? We didn't stroll in and say, hey, we're Arthur Anderson Hotshots, and we get this advanced contract. No, we started at training associate. You don't have to stay there. The market's definitely not saturated. And so when you have a model where it's like you can go as fast as you want, we actually almost beg you to go fast. And we want you to get to your next level. And if our financial incentive is to raise you up, it doesn't, there might be other pyramids out there, or I call them lotion and potion companies out there that are structured that way, but no one's stopping you, right? This thing's still wide open, and and we got it. You got the Rajas of the world, and ex-taxi cab driver, and came over here, and I think he's north of 5 million in less than 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? Amazing. He came in well after the founders.
Right.
And there's stories like that popping everywhere all the time. So none of that's true.
Yeah, well, would you say it's kind of it's very democratic in a way, isn't it? Because you have an objective chance like everyone else, and it's not like in a job where sometimes if there's politics involved, or nepotism, or all kinds of different political factors. There's no political factors, correct?
No, that's why the dysfunctional model doesn't work, because it's set up not to work. And if people can't see a way to become you, they will leave you and go someplace else to become you. And then they become your competition.
Right.
And here it's like, no, man, like, not only do I want you to have my contract, but I'm going to show you how to do it, and there's incentive to do it. So there's no BS.
It's sort of everyone wins.
No, man, everybody wins. And so because there's clear communication, and it's in the best interest of raising everybody up, that's why it's explosive. But, you don't have to believe me. I always say, look at the results. And the thing is, this has had my love, focus, and attention for 19 years. That's huge.
Yeah.
And
it's a long time.
If there was something else out there that was better, guess what? Me and my two buddies, we'd be there.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Another thing that's on the internet, as you say, it's kind of the Wild West, but is that WFG is a cult, which would make you a cult leader, I guess. So how do you address it when people say, well, is it a cult? It seems like you guys, it's like a similar mindset everyone has. It has cult-like qualities. How do you address that?
Well, I've never been part of a cult, but I think because I've seen it on TV, right? The cult's all kind of about some egomaniac leader that's trying to manipulate his followers, to his end or whatever.
Technically, it's a extreme religious sect, according to the dictionary, but I think it's kind of, sort of been generalized over and sort of exaggerated over the years. But
yeah, my first meeting was in May of '99, and Eric told us to come out, and Schwann was doing this huge event at Mandalay Bay, and I walk in, and there's 24,000 people in red shirts, and it was but
felt like a cult.
Yeah, it did. But I walked in, and I realized that part of it was I was kind of emotionally dead, right? And I was kind of there to listen, and all I heard about was having a better life, showing people how to have a better life, how to have people, put people in a better situation. In 19 years, I've never had anyone ask me to do, anything weird, or that was not in my best interest, or gave me the heebie-jeebies, right, or gave me that weird feeling. And so, I think if you are from a corporate background, or you're kind of beat down, and you walk in and you're used to this low energy environment, don't mistake a high energy environment with people that are excited and pumped up, and they have dreams, and they love being around each other, and they want to better their life. Don't mistake that for a cult, right?
Right.
It's high energy, and there's a higher feeling. There's never been any weirdness, man. I've never been like, God, that's weird, that's strange. Why are they saying that? I've never questioned it. For me, it hits these universal laws of love and truth and abundance, and I don't know. I've always had a great feeling. So I don't know. I guess if you call that a cult, I guess it's a cult. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. It's not.
Well, let me ask you this: Would you say it has a cult-like culture for someone that coming off the street, as you did? So to speak. It's brand new, in other words. Yeah. And you see people with all the red shirts, and there's 20,000 people, or there's 200 people in the room, or they got their chants and all that. It can seem cultish. For sure. Would you at least agree it's a cult-like culture? I don't mean in the negative connotation of the word cult. It's certainly not a religious sect of any kind, but in terms of that, it is almost like a team, sort of like a team that's all together, right?
It's a team. It's a mastermind. It's people coming together with a common purpose and plan, and to help each other go to the next level. So I guess it's a positive call.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I mean, all it's done is, it's the associations that most people need to move their lives forward.
Sure.
So how they get that?
Okay, so what about this one? Now, this one probably is obviously subjective by nature, but we've had people call us over the years because we've worked with you guys, as vendors for so many years. We have thousands and thousands of people from WFG on our database. Sometimes they'll say, well, if you're either in with WFG or you're not, and if you leave, well, then you're sort of made to feel like it's us and them. It's us against WFG against the world, and if I leave, well, then I'm sort of outcast. How do you respond to that if anyone has said that to you or you've heard that at all?
Well, I mean, I can only speak to my group and my team, and I mean, almost everyone that leaves, they're still our client, and it's not for everybody.
So you can leave if you want to. You're not going to get harassed if you leave.
Yeah, you can leave the cult. I guess.
You can leave the cult. Yeah, right. Exactly.
No, I mean it's because one of the first things we do when people come on board is we want to help them get their financial house in order. We want to make them a client, and
sure.
So I've had a lot of people leave, and it's not for everybody, and that's okay. And there's no shame to that, and we're not going to shame.
Either is Johnson & Johnson, for that matter.
Yeah, we're not going to shame people for that. And what I've found is it's such a personal development haven, and I've had people come in and it wasn't a fit for them, and they stopped me on the street 5 years later, and they're like, Chris, something you said 5 years ago, and you gave me this book, Think and Grow Rich, or some of your stuff. I read the mental toughness stuff, and I started this business, and it's transformed my life and changed my life. And so, my whole thing is, at least my approach is, I just want to help people have a better life. I hope that's with us, but if it's not with us, it's okay that it's someplace else.
So you're still friends with those people?
Absolutely,
friendly with those people, of course.
No, we have a phenomenal reputation.
I've seen that as an outsider, but I just wanted to hear it from you because obviously you're in the business. Yeah.
And,
okay.
And you never know.
Sure.
You never know. This is just, a stop on their path, and, someone else is in control of things, right?
Sure.
And there's other businesses out there than WFG that might be a bigger fit. So.
Okay. Let's see, something else that we talked about. I know this is kind of specific. I know you're a CPA. You have a lot of technical experience. Of course, I'm not a CPA, and probably most people that are watching are probably not. But one of the things that's been out there and the internet, sort of the Wild West, as you called it, is this product, this foundational product, this you guys call it FFIUL. Mm-hmm. There's been some controversy about that. Can you sort of, without going into the nitty gritty of it, can you kind of give us an idea of how you would refute the claims that this is a poor product?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes people make life insurance out to be a religion. It's not a religion, right? And it's a tool. And just like any tool, right? A hammer can be used for good and a hammer can be used for bad. And a product like that, I own it. I own multiple products and products like that. And I think the key is if it's just a product and you're trying to sell a product and you're not really I'm not saying this has happened, but it could happen, that if you don't really understand what that person needs. My mentor said, hey, the way you get financially independent is you find a need and you fill the need. Well, you got to figure out what that need is. And so it's not the product, but if it's not designed properly to fit the end consumer, then it's not a good product for them. It's a bad use of a hammer. But if it's designed specifically like the one I own and the one that we market, amongst other companies, I mean, we're independent. I hope everybody understands that. We don't have to sell a specific product. We can work with multiple different companies.
Is it a product you recommend to your clients, though?
Yeah, but I also work with others.
Okay,
right?
Depends on the client.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. And so, certain ages, there's a better product at certain ages. I met with a 48-year-old couple this week, and guess what? There was another solution that was better.
Okay.
And so it's really, if it's designed properly, and it fits properly, and it fits the budget, and it fits what they need, and it fits, it's awesome.
So why do so many people hammer this online that it's such a bad product? They don't understand it. It wasn't correctly suited to them and their needs.
Yeah,
is that?
Probably. I mean, that's usually it.
Okay.
It was, hey, I want a driver, and well, here's your 5-iron. Well, that's not going to fit it, right? You
Okay,
need
'cause
you need a driver, right?
Well, as you know, some people claim that the reason they're selling it is because there's so much commission in it and all that. That's their big claim, is that you guys are making so much money on the product.
Mm-hmm.
How do you dispute that, or how do you respond to that?
I mean, I've never looked at the commission and the premium and the target and my sales pipelines that I run. I mean, I just put names down. I don't put like projected cash flow to me, and I mean I've never done that. I just have always been like, all right, what do you need? I mean, it's pretty simple. Like, what's your budget? What can you afford in good times and bad times? And how much coverage do you need? That's it. So if somebody's got a couple $100 a month and they need $1 million of coverage, the FFIUL for $1 million, it's not good for them, right? Maybe you do a smaller FFIUL and you blend it with term. I mean, it's just that's the kind of stuff I've done.
So it's got to be customized, is what you're saying. If it's not, then it can be a bad product. If it's not, anything can be a bad product in that case.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Good times and bad times, what can you put away? That's the way I've always structured my own, is good times and bad times. What can I do based on my budget and all that? So that's where, so people are blaming the product. They probably need to talk to the agent, right?
Okay.
And they probably need to make sure, hey, maybe my budget was off, or,
So it falls more, the responsibility, you would say, falls more on the agent than the product itself.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's great. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. Just for a second, let's talk about what some people call WFG's hard sell culture. When people come to a meeting, they're this is what they claim. I have never seen this personally, but I'm sure you've seen a lot more than me. But how do you respond if someone says, well, I feel like I'm being hard sold, or is this a hard sell culture? Because no one likes to hard sell anyone. That's no fun, especially to friends and family. How do you respond to any of those claims?
Yeah, I mean, once again, I can only speak to how I do it and what we've done. And, I got this from Ed Milet years ago. I'm looking for people looking for me. And I found that, if I have to convince people, I mean, can you imagine waking up every morning and turning to Don and going, hey, here's the top 10 reasons you're married to me. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good looking. These muscles, right? I'm smart. I'm articulate. Look at me. I'm a great, my wife, Marla, I wouldn't make it past the third day, right?
Yeah,
If I had to get up and convince my wife every day why I'm awesome.
Sure.
And so I think, sometimes, as you know, the majority of people have a real scarce mentality. They don't have an abundant mentality.
Right.
And I think you grow into that. And so if you think there's a scarce amount of people that are going to be excited about your opportunity, I don't agree with it, but I could see how somebody wouldn't feel the need to do that, or feel the need to make claims and all that. And I'm not saying that hasn't happened. I'm just saying if you're looking at that business, you don't have to turn into that person. Right? My whole recruiting and selling has always been about having authentic, relaxed conversations to figure out if we're a fit or not. And that's it.
What if someone goes to a meeting and they feel like the office they're being prospected by is kind of a hard sell culture and they don't fit? Should they walk away? Should they just not do it the way their office does it, or should they look for another person to bring them into the business? Or what would you advise them?
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't have that be the reason why I don't come into the business. One of the things I love about my leadership team is they've always allowed me, albeit they've been always super supportive, they've always allowed me to go outside my team and go outside my hierarchy and get resources and get mentored and coached and taught and trained. And I got a lot of people that call me from other teams that have some of that stuff going on. And I'm happy to talk to them. But I just want people to understand is don't shoot down the business just because maybe that's the way that local office does it. Okay? There's plenty of offices, there's plenty of different leaders, but my key message is you don't have to do that to be successful here. I think that's one of the things, is that whole authentic, relaxed conversation. You run that, you be you, and you can build a big business here, but don't get caught up in, well, I'm not doing it because this office and this leader. I think people get a little too Twitter-pated and caught up in their uplines and what they're doing and what they're teaching and all that. You can find an office that fits you. There's no doubt in my mind.
Really, in my experience, and I want to see what your take is on this, the hard sell, to your point about marriage, is a great analogy. It doesn't really work. You might get them into something, but they're not going to, you're going to have to convince them, as you say, to stay married to you, so to speak, or stay in the business with you forever, and it doesn't really work. So how do you respond to that? Would you say the hard sell works anyway, or doesn't work?
No, it doesn't work. No, I mean, it probably worked 30 years ago, but I mean, any leaders or any offices that are doing that, like, stop it.
Yeah, right.
Stop it. Stop the madness, man, because you don't need to do it. And if you feel like you need to do it, you need to look deep inside of why you think you need to do that. And there's probably a gap in the value I bring to the table or your belief in the business. You don't need to do that. And there's plenty of people looking for this. So don't. And you're gonna drag them forever. Man.
Yeah, exactly. It's forever.
You know, and I'm not at that stage in my career. Like, your time's valuable, my time's valuable.
Yeah.
Are we dating or not? Like, let's get that figured out, right?
I agree. Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay. Now, as you know, some people in the financial services industry, I don't know if you had this when you were with Arthur Andersen or not. They say the sales commissions that WFG pays are far lower than if they go with a traditional company. So you guys are paying, what, 25, 35% in the beginning, and then some companies, if you're independent, you're getting 75, 85%. Why should someone go into WFG at 25 to 35 when they could get 85, 75, or 85 at a traditional company?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the dangers is thinking that's an apples to apples comparison when it's kind of an apples to orange comparison. Meaning, what I looked at was, I wasn't looking at the payout versus I was looking at the overall comp plan, right? So I was looking at, because a lot of those guys, and I know tons of them, they're firm jumpers, right? They go from, they're at 75 and, oh, you're 80, and they go over there, and you know what happens? Nothing changes for them, right? They're lone rangers.
It's like real estate.
Yeah,
same thing.
I mean, it's just they got a high payout, but there's like no incentive to develop them. And so when you look at the bonus structure and you look at some of the things that we have and some of the ownership opportunities that we got, and I mean, when you look at the whole comp plan, I've had firms, take a run at me and, hey, we got this and payout and all that. But when I looked at, okay, you guys are kind of about cash flow. How about like creating wealth? And they're like, right? They look at me like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, dude, there's more to a contract than just payout. What's the upside? And so when you look at a 25, 35%, it's, you're part-time, okay? Like, you're even given a shot.
Right.
I mean, you're not gonna be able to go down to LPL and go, hey, I'm gonna do part-time, so can you give me 70%?
Right, yeah.
But, several years ago, once again, it was another comp change that the company put on our behalf. They pushed all the vested renewals and trails down to that 25, 35% level. So you're vested in that stuff. But the main concept, Steve, is you're giving up a little bit on the front end.
We're giving up a lot,
yeah,
really, right?
You're giving up a lot. I mean, ultimately, I'm at 65 SMD.
Okay.
And you're giving up.
Is that the highest level it gets? 65.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're giving up. That initial, to get, instead of getting a higher personal producer contract, you want to have the ability to build a team.
Right. Okay.
Right. So that's the exchange right there.
And there's more money in building a team than there's just individual, probably, right?
Yeah.
For most people.
And what I want, what I want everyone to also understand is, no one's holding you there, right? I mean, I moved from 25 to 65 in 90 days.
Wow.
I mean, once I made the decision, though, I mean, like, I jacked around with it, and, I'm busy, and is this going to work? And, I did that for the first year.
You went from 90 days, from 25% commission to 65.
Yeah.
Wow. That's fast.
And it's also, I mean, Getty said, I want 1% of the efforts of 100 people versus 100% of my own efforts. And so when you look at my contract now, my cash flow divided by what I personally write, not the team, and I still do a lot of personal client work, which is, once again, really super rare in our industry. Most guys 19 years into the business are on a golf course, and they're not excited, and they're not meeting with clients. But when you take my cash flow divided by what I personally write, my contract's 200%.
Wow.
Right?
Much better.
So I could have took that 75%, been a temporary self-employed sales guy for the rest of my life, looking for the next deal, or took less to build the team, and now I have more.
Right.
And guess what? That's available for everyone, not just a select group.
So Chris, so someone is really on the fence about doing this. What's you've been doing this 19 years. You've got the Arthur Anderson pedigree from before. You vetted the company, for all these years as well.
Yeah.
What's the best advice you could give to someone who's just can't decide whether to go forward or run away?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the tendencies is people really overthink it. And we have this part of our brain called our ego, and it wants to talk us out of things that are good for us, right? And so sometimes people, they try to think how it's going to work out. And they try to plan everything out. And our brains just don't do that. But our brains tell us we can do that. And so I would tend to not overthink it. And normally the overthinking is to get you not to do it, normally, for most people. And so I would say not to hesitate. And also for me, I mean, I came here to serve people and get financially independent. And they need to ask themselves, if they're interested in getting financially free, and you know what that feels like, what are their options? What else are there? Where else can they go to make that happen? And for a lot of people, this might be literally their only option. So quit overthinking it. The risk is minimal.
$99, right? Roughly?
It's a small investment, licensing, and once again, I take you back to my decision-making process. I'll invest $300, $500, $1,500 in licenses. If I don't learn that in financial literacy and financial education, I mean, shame on me. If I don't make that back, shame on me. So it's not $2 million or so into McDonald's or Chick-fil-A franchise.
Right.
So quit overthinking it. Don't try to map it out how it's going to work out. It never turns out the way we think.
Sure.
Just take small steps and let it go and give it a shot. Give it a shot. You'll never know, right? You're going to have regrets like, man, I didn't do it, or God, I read that stupid thing on the internet that really wasn't true.
Yeah, that's right.
And it changed the trajectory. You got to listen to other people. I mean, no, don't. I mean, it's a phenomenal company. It can transform not only your life, but future generations. So
sure.
it's worth
Makes sense.
It's worth jumping into.
Sure, yeah, not much of a downside.
Yeah.